California has now finally gone red.
It's incredible.
That's how the Associated Press is describing what happened at the San Francisco school board, that this was a Republican revenge. Talk about missing the story. This had nothing to do with Republicans. That's what's so scary to the press and sort of the far left of the Democratic Party. This was Democrats giving the middle finger to woke Democrats and their policies in the bluest state in the union. Am I wrong, Josh?
No, I mean, look, you're exactly right. But it's even more profound than that almost, Megyn. It's not just that it was a blue place. I mean, it's the bluest place on the planet, but it also was overwhelming, right? I mean, we're talking like 80-20 or 75-25 in favor of recalling these people. Every single neighborhood in San Francisco voted to recall. Hate Ashbury voted to recall.
Hoity-toity.
I mean, it doesn't matter what your politics are, right? I mean, they saw basically, I don't care what you believe in, left, right, or center. If you're seeing a grievous damage being done to your children, you care about that. And that's what these people were doing.
It's crazy. I mean, they could only recall 3. They probably would have recalled the whole board if they could. They were only allowed to go after these 3, given the way the California law is structured. But they're gone. And you tell me whether the other members on this board and other school boards in California and countrywide now are scared, right? Like, does it scare them enough to abandon those far left policies we've seen in so many states? Or do they go more the AP way, which is, oh, those Republicans, they got their way, but not here in our state because we've been reasonable?
I mean, I think that is a large part of what we've been seeing over the past couple of years is a demand that you adhere to their narrative, or else you're considered a far right radical. It's very clear. I mean, you just look at the registration numbers. These were Democrats who voted in this recall. And these were concerned parents who, when schools were shut down, that board, that supervisor's board said, okay, we need to have a very serious meeting to discuss the most important issue. We need to rename 40 schools in our district. Like Abraham Lincoln High School must be renamed.
Yes.
And parents I think any sane person, even Democrats, would be willing to take a moment, take a pause and say, my kids aren't in school and these people are trying to rename Abraham Lincoln High School.
My favorite was they renamed Alamo because they thought it all referred to the battle, like Alamo. And the Alamo School is actually just a Spanish tree. It's incredible. They had to rename that. But again, that took precedence over trying to get kids back in school.
It's there. There was one tweet by Lee Fang of The Intercept, which is a lefty sort of news organization founded by Glenn Greenwald before he left, who wrote in response to the AP press report about Republicans increasingly looking to the education fight as a galvanizing issue and so on, and talking about how this is about right wing politics. So Lee Fang responds, "No one watches Fox News here. No one. Yeah. There is no real right-wing influence. The leaders of the recall are non-white immigrants. The media will lie nonstop about this, but the fact that an overwhelming majority of Democrats recalled San Francisco's ultra-woke school board speaks volumes." That's the truth, right? That's the truth. And even the San Francisco Examiner editorial board seemed to understand that. I feel so encouraged by this because I feel like Virginia was more purple and California's definitely deep blue. And so we've seen examples in both of those states, not to mention New Jersey, where the parents' messaging is getting through. They are having the last word. So, 7 months away from the midterms, I feel like these Democrats are terrified.
Megyn, there's another interesting figure in this whole story, and it's somebody who you've interviewed. This is Jennifer Say. I mean, she is a real leader. She is somebody who stood up for what she believed in, and she's someone who, I mean, you know the whole story. Your audience knows the whole story because you had her on. But I mean, she wrote and very, very clearly in her piece about what she went through at her company because she just wanted a normal environment for her kids. She's an Elizabeth Warren supporter.
Yes. What did she do, right? She gets basically fired as the president of Levi's brand, of Levi's. There's supposed to be an American Heartland brand. She gets fired. Why? Did she refuse to get the vaccine and say vaccine mandates are wrong? No. She said we should open the schools. This is very damaging to the children. and she advocated on behalf of children against these lockdown policies, and that was a bridge too far.
They called her names, and you know what? But she was not intimidated. And I think that she is really an example of what, like, if you're somebody who has, I have daughters, if she is an example of what you want kids to grow up and be like, because she is not intimidated.
Yeah, I think she's obviously a huge hero, but I think of all the parents without the resources and without the ability to sort of speak their mind for fear of having their livelihoods taken away. And the second that they do, they've got nothing left, right? And so all of a sudden, not only your kids' education is a concern, but where they get their next meal is as well. And I think that's what the left has done with this education fight and COVID writ large, right? Is that you can't actually question the narrative that they've come up with in any form or fashion because they'll punish you.
Yep.
Right. And they'll use, whether it's the tech platforms or the mainstream media, or in this case, corporate culture, to try to make people silent about all the very serious, damaging things that they're trying to do to our schools.
Right. They'll fire you, even from a job as powerful as hers, and they'll smear you. Jennifer Say, S-E-Y, has 4 kids, 2 of whom are mixed race. She was married to a black man. 2 of her children are mixed race, and they still called her a racist. Like,
yeah, it's just unbelievable.
They always play that card. So everybody knows they're going to get called a racist. For what? This doesn't, on its face, involve race. This is open the schools for all children. But I guess the argument was, this is what she wrote in her piece on Barry Weiss's Substack, that she wanted to kill black and brown kids because she wanted the schools open and they would go into those schools and contract COVID and die.
Just outrageous.
Yeah, I think the modern left has gotten so incredibly deranged, and I think it goes hand in hand with their use of pressure tactics and almost like an extortion racket, where they demand that you, follow the directions, follow the narrative, and what they say goes, or else they'll try to take your livelihood. And even the basis, one of the members who was recalled in the election, a friend of mine, Mike Solana, pointed out these tweets that she had that was saying that Asian Americans are complicit in white supremacy. And it's all part of this move that like the ultra woke left has had to try to get rid of like accelerated teaching programs. You have to get rid of standardized testing in schools, and all these opportunities for education they're trying to take away in the name of this deranged kind of race-based, very racist social justice. And hopefully across the country, all parents, the same way if even San Francisco can wake up, across the country, hopefully all parents can wake up and hold these people accountable for what they've done.
We had to laugh. There's a San Francisco Chronicle article that was about, I think it was San Francisco Chronicle, it was about this, and they were reacting to the left trying to do what you were talking about at the top of the program, is make this basically be like a Republican thing. Oh, Republican. And he shows up in full drag, right? And he names himself Gabraham Lincoln. And he's like, do I look like a Republican to you? I was like, that's just perfect. That's what we're talking about here, right? It's just not a Republican concern. It should be for everyone, but somehow the woke left just can't see it.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.